I made a lot of mistakes on my journey to 7 figures in t-shirt and apparel sales. And my hope is that by sharing some of the biggest mistakes that we and many others have made and continue to make at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey, that you can avoid these in your business and accelerate your growth. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down 8 very common print-on-demand beginner mistakes to avoid and actionable steps that you can take to prevent yourself from falling victim to these with your brand. My name is Adrian Von Arx, here with my co-host Kerry Egler. Welcome to the Print on Demand Playbook Podcast. Hello. What is up? The countdown to the fourth quarter, the biggest shopping season of the year, is right around the corner. And I hope that all of our listeners are taking a lot of action and preparing themselves for this. We're going to talk about some mistakes to avoid in today's episode that will hopefully allow you to really focus on what's important and avoid making these particular mistakes. Before we jump into the 8 print-on-demand beginner mistakes to avoid, we're going to shout out one of our amazing listeners because we love you guys. We really do. And just before I shout you out, I just want to say, thank you for being a listener. Thank you for following our podcast. Thank you for DMing us. Thank you for leaving us reviews. We appreciate it all. We really do appreciate you guys. So I just want to throw out a heartfelt gratitude for every single one of you. We wish the best for you. We don't gatekeep here. We want you to go out. We want you to be successful. And we really appreciate you spending your valuable time with us. We know you've got a lot of things going on. You've got a lot of things to do. You're clearly ambitious. So thank you. With that, I'm going to get into Instagram DM that we received from, I didn't want to say his full name, so I'm just going to say Hartman. You'll probably know who you are. And he just said, love the podcast. This is kind of funny. He says, love the podcast. And I actually dread listening to podcasts because the value isn't really there, but you guys are legit. Keep it going, my brother. Much respect. Oh, man. Such a nice thing. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And we're so happy you feel that way. That's the goal. We don't want this to be a fluffy podcast where you leave being like, what did I even learn? Right? Yeah. I feel like sometimes we go too deep in the weeds on this podcast. But the beauty is that you can just keep re-listening to it or you can pause it, right? So thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you and everyone else. With that, let's transition into the main event because we've got a lot to get through. And, I was like, should I cut this shorter than 8? Because you know how it goes with us. Sometimes when we have 8 of anything, it's 2 hours long or could be 2 hours long. But
we've done part 1 and part 2. I don't know that we've done 2 hours. Have we had a 2-hour long podcast? Maybe an hour 30.
We had to break it up before.
Yeah, maybe hour 30.
I think we can get through this one in a reasonable amount of time. So I'm just going to jump in starting. So this is 8 print-on-demand beginner mistakes to avoid. I'm going to go through each one. I want your take on them all, Kerry, as I go. And then I'm going to summarize them all at the end. So mistake number 1. And this one seems really obvious, but I've been guilty of this. And I know you are amazing listeners. Some of you are also guilty of this. And I don't want you to feel bad because most people are guilty about this at the beginning. And that is not taking action. I know we say it all the time, but action is a requirement to have success. And there's a Pablo Picasso quote that I really love where he says, action is a foundational key to all success. And it is. Without action, you can't get results. It's a requirement. And I know that a lot of people, I consider myself a bit of an overthinker. And I'm guessing a lot of other entrepreneurs, a lot of our listeners are overthinkers as well. And sometimes we just consume, but we don't feel ready or confident enough to actually go out and start applying that stuff. And I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you right now, right here, after this podcast. I want you to go out and take some sort of action. Just go do some action. You're going to feel amazing. Like, feel the fear and do it anyway. If that is sign up for Shopify, if that is launching your website, if that is posting for the first time to social media, if it's running ads for the first time, setting up email marketing, whatever it is, I want you to take one action step forward after listening to this podcast, because you can consume and consume all you want, but it goes back to the quote, action is a foundational key to all success. So I want you to just break through that self-limiting barrier, that self-limiting trait, and I want you to get out there and take messy and perfect action, even if you don't feel like you're ready. So my big advice here, the actionable advice, is to keep it simple and start before you're ready. What you're going to realize is that most growth happens outside of the comfort zone. It's just the way it is. And I want you to do it scared. I want you to do it feeling not ready. And I want you to do it imperfect. And when you do that, man, you're going to look back and you're going to be exercising those muscles, those courage muscles. And you're going to look back in 6 months from now, if you continue to do this, and you're going to be really proud of yourself. So, Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts on this, but I just want to share a quote that really had a profound impact on me. The reason I'm sharing this is because it had an impact on me as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner. And I feel like it's going to speak to our listeners. So this is a quote from Jen Gottlieb. And the first time I heard it, I remember getting goosebumps. There was like some epic music in the background. It was like an Instagram reel, and it was so good. So I don't have the epic music, but I'm going to read the quote, and I hope that this has a profound impact on you, our listeners, as well. This is what she says. She says, "Start before you're ready. Don't prepare, begin. The enemy is not your lack of preparation. It's not the difficulty of the task or the state of the marketplace or the emptiness in your bank account. The enemy is resistance. The enemy is your chattering brain, to which, if you give as much as a nanosecond, will start producing excuses, alibis, transparent self-justifications, and a million reasons as to why you can't, shouldn't, won't do the thing you know you need to do. Start before you're ready." Dude, still got the goosebumps, man. Still does it for me. Kerry, I'm going to hand it over to you. I want to hear your thoughts.
Man, you said it so good in that quote. It was really powerful. I heard something similar at a conference I was at last year, where they were talking about the resistance. And I mean, I probably got it from this quote, honestly, and just talking about waking up in the morning and just feeling like that resistance to like, oh, I have to do all these things today. And you just feel like, am I going to get these things done? Am I going to get up out of this bed, like actually take action, do the things I need to do. And then you feel that resistance of just like some of those days when you wake up, you don't want to do it, and you have to fight through that. And, sometimes you have to just make yourself, right? Like sometimes you have to just say, okay, I'm not feeling it today. Don't want to do it. I'm whatever that is. You might have fear, those kind of things. And you just have to blindly do it. Like you just have to make yourself do it, get on the other side of it. But yeah, I mean, I can say so many things here. One thing I wanted to mention is like, you're never going to be ready. Like you're never going to be ready. You can prepare forever, and you're still not ever going to feel ready. You're going to feel more ready after you do things over and over. You start to take action, and then you're like, oh, this wasn't that hard. The fear I had, it wasn't that big of a deal. You overcome that and you get better at it as you go, but you're never going to feel ready. It's kind of like having kids. Like that's what I kind of relate it to, is like when you and your, significant other, like, oh, let's think about having kids. It's like, you're never going to be ready for what's about to happen to you when you have that kid. Like you just have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's this incredible thing that is so fulfilling and so amazing. And so I don't know. That's kind of what it makes me think like of like you're just never going to be ready, but you get better as you go. You learn as you go, and yeah, I mean that's what I'd say. You said so many good things there. My whole motto in business is taking perfect action. Like
Yep.
I say it throughout my presentations, throughout my events, and I believe that done's better than perfect. And I think as you get more experience and you get more seasoned, you're going to plan things more. I think there's something to be said about that. Like when you're releasing new products and different things, as you get better at it and you get more seasoned and your brand grows, like, yeah, you're going to spend more time preparing. But in the beginning, like, you just don't know. You just don't know what you don't know. Like you have to learn, you have to go through those experiences. And so the most impactful and important thing you can do is take action, is just post that first post to social media. It's put up that first product, put out that first design, write that first email. I mean, that's the most impactful thing you can do. It's not reading more books. It's not like continuing to do that. Yes, you should learn all those things, but like there's a point where it's like take action.
Hey, I want to invite you to my free masterclass where I reveal how to make your first $10,000 in sales with Shopify and print on demand. If you are just starting out, this will give you a head start. And if you're a POD veteran, this training is meant to help you multiply your growth faster. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can register for that free training by clicking the link below in the show notes, or by going to ecomlegendsacademy.com/grow. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we started out with that one because I wanted that to be kind of like the catalyst for everything else that we talk about. And mistake number 2 is not choosing a niche. Now, I just want to put this kind of into context because there are a lot of different strategies, a lot of different ways to make sales online, to start a t-shirt or apparel business. However, the strategy that we've used to have success and that we teach our students to build a profitable and sustainable business is building a brand using Shopify and print on demand. And with this, it is very important to choose a niche. So let me explain sort of the importance of it. And then I want to hear, Kerry, your thoughts. I feel like we're pretty aligned on this. This is something we really hammer home because we've been able to see those results, and we see students struggling who go too broad. And then we see some students that are succeeding that are well niched, right? So I just want to start by explaining what a niche is, just because I know we have a lot of new listeners, so I don't want to assume that everyone has binged from episode 1. But those who have, we love you, by the way. But in case you're unfamiliar with what a niche is, it's really just a specific subset, a segment of the population for a particular product or service. So for example, if your brand creates products for pit bull lovers, your niche is pit bull lovers. That's it. That's who you serve. That's who you create products for. And that is who you should be focusing all your energy on. Anyone that's not a pit bull lover, that has no interest in your content or your products, that's fine. That's fine. That's the beauty of niching down, is you get to differentiate and you get to serve this very passionate market of people, this very passionate group of people. And this allows you to differentiate. It allows you to stick a flag in the sand and say, this is why my brand exists. This is who I serve. And I heard a really good quote recently in the context of niching down. And they said, what did they say? It said, attract the best and repel the rest. And you don't necessarily need to repel, but what you're going to realize is like, there's going to be a lot of people that your products and content isn't relevant to, and that's okay. They're just not your market. And that's a good thing, because every time you stay really dialed in on your particular niche, on your particular market, you are training the algorithm, you are training your followers, your email subscribers, that this is the type of content they can expect from you. And if they fall in this category, if they identify and say, I'm a Pitbull lover and I love why this brand exists because all their products and content are made for Pitbull lovers, you've got some great synergy right there. It's incredible, right? Everything you create is for those people. And because they're so passionate and you continue to serve them content and products that they're passionate about, they're much more likely to purchase from you. Unfortunately, a very common mistake that I see amongst new brand owners, and I've definitely been here. So I'm not like calling you out and saying, oh, I was guilty of this too at the beginning. A lot of new brands is they're worried about leaving money on the table, right? And so what they do as a result is they try to target everyone, or they just go really, really broad. And this actually makes it much more challenging to get attention, to attract your ideal customer, and there's a lot more competition. So, a quote that I really love is, if everyone is your customer, no one is your customer. So if you want to capture attention, if you want to stand out, if you want to make sales, you need to differentiate. And one of the best ways that you can do that is by choosing a niche and only creating products and content for that niche. Remember, the riches are on the niches. This is so powerful. And the reason why it's said so much is because a lot of people have benefited from that advice, from that quote. So, Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts.
Man, you're throwing it to me after you say so much good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, some things I was thinking about. We believe that you got to niche down, and I think there's a misconception. I'm gonna probably butcher the way that I say this because this is something that's like rolling around in my brain right now that I want to hone in a little bit more. But I think there's a misconception sometimes. People will find these websites that look to be successful where they can't really identify a specific niche. And oftentimes when I go in and look at those websites, I look at them and I'm like, no, they're definitely niche down. It just might not be in the traditional way that you would think about it. When we talk about niching down, we typically talk about like a passion or interest that you can base a brand around. So, dogs or we've got people that do pickleball, and we've got, it could be any sport, or it could be, it's literally just like this passionate interest that people are interested in. It could be going to the beach. It could be swimming. It could be, there's a million different things, playing board games. Like it could be, these are niches, right? These are like interests, but there's a couple other sides to it. There's another side where it's like, do you know who your customer is? If you had a more broad brand, but it was for a very specific customer, that's still really a niche, right? When you create something for families, let's say, well, it could have different, interests within that brand, but you're serving a specific customer. It's all for families, right? And there's also specific styles sometimes. I think that's one thing I noticed when I was in Amsterdam with these business owners is like, a lot of them had these specific styles with their designs where it's like they couldn't be copied. That was what made one of the things that made them unique, right? And then within that, they had these niches, and so that's something as well that relates to having a niche. But these are all kind of different things that all kind of pertain to the same thing, is that your niche is how you stand out. It's what makes you unique. And it also, one thing that I talk about a lot is your niche allows you to market much easier, right? So if you're honed in on what your niche is and who your customer is, it's easier to speak their language because you know how to talk like they talk and speak about the things that they speak about, right? If me and you both, Adrian, are into fantasy football and you're my customer, and I can speak about fantasy football and I want to sell you a product related to fantasy football, well, I'm going to be able to market to you in a much more effective way because I know how to speak your language as a fantasy football lover. And so that's why it's so important to have a niche, because when you go broad, you have no idea how to speak your customer's language. And the more specific you can get, and the more you can speak that language, you can speak like them, the easier it's going to be to sell to them, because they're going to say, oh man, this brand gets me. This brand is like me. I want to buy from them. So again, that was a lot of scattered thoughts, but hopefully there was some gold in there.
No, that was good. That was well done. Well said. All right, let's jump on to mistake number 3 of 8. And this is a big one for me. This one is really big. And that is not conducting effective design research. So this, in my opinion, is actually one of the most critical keys to success for t-shirt and apparel brands, yet one of the most overlooked, because anyone listening who has had a winning design, they know the power of that design to completely transform your business and transform your life. And if you've scaled it up effectively, amplifying your reach with paid ads, leveraging email marketing to get repeat sales from those customers, man, you know what I'm talking about if you've experienced this. And this is why it's so important. So this to me is the difference maker between a super successful brand and one not making any sales or not making many sales, even while putting in a similar amount of work. And I think that that's another common misconception, is that, oh, the successful brands are working harder than me. That is not always the case. Many times that's not the case. Maybe they're working smarter because they're following a proven strategy and they're sticking to the system and they're remaining consistent and they're taking a lot of action. But I've seen a lot of people working very hard and not getting the results they deserve. And this is one of the areas where I feel like you could work a lot on your business. And if you're not doing this well, you're probably going to struggle. I see so many people who they're in a profitable niche. They have a professional looking, trustworthy website. Definitely good enough for people to be comfortable making purchases, and they're marketing effectively. They're marketing very well. Maybe they're running paid ads, like exactly how we recommend people run paid ads. Maybe they're posting the right content to grow their following, but for some reason they're not making sales. For those people, a lot of the time, it comes down to design research. In many cases, I feel like this is really the missing piece of the puzzle. You might be dropping new designs all the time, but if these are just original designs thought up in your head, or you're just slapping your logo on everything, and that just doesn't resonate with people, then making sales always can be a struggle, right? But the thing is, a lot of people don't know this, and they're not aware of the potential that putting time aside for design research, the potential that that has to transform your brand. Like, I think this should be as I consider this sales generating activity, and I think it should be as important as marketing, because I can tell you it is a lot easier to make sales and market a winning design than it is one that it just doesn't resonate with your ideal customer. Without effective design research, most people, what they do is they end up guessing what they believe their ideal customer wants, or they create designs with no prior validation. And in a lot of cases, that's going to result in zero sales of that design. Like, if you're just coming up with design concepts off the top of your head, you probably think they're great. And I might even be like, that's really cool. But does this really resonate with your ideal customer, right? And you have to remind yourselves, like, am I creating this brand for me, or am I creating this brand for my audience? Usually it's both. However, if you want this to be a profitable and sustainable brand, you really have to have that audience piece. Like, go out there, find designs that are winning right now, either in your niche or in another niche, and reverse engineer the virality of that design and find ways that you can repurpose this design for your designs. Don't steal it, don't copy it, but find creative ways that you can take elements, you can take pieces. Maybe it's some of the design elements by using something that's really trendy and timely right now. Maybe it's a slogan that you saw go viral in one pet niche and you're in a different pet niche, and you can just change out the word from dog to cat or something like that. There's a lot of ways that you can reverse engineer winning designs, and you can make them win for yours. It's not always going to happen. It's definitely not always going to happen. There's going to be times where you use these designs as inspiration and they don't do that well. But think about it like this. If you had every single design that you created, you had put in some time to do design research, and they were all inspired by winning designs that are winning right now, your chances of that being a winner are significantly higher than if you're coming up with original designs off the top of your head that have no validation. You haven't seen if it's made sales. You haven't seen if your audience cares. You haven't seen how people react. That is why when you do this, you're actually giving yourself a much higher likelihood of success with every single design. And once you start getting some winning designs, it tends to get easier because what you can do is you can reverse engineer your own winners, which you know perform well with your audience, and you can find creative ways to repurpose those and come out with new designs. And this can be huge. Like you can ride a winner. Usually the most momentum is in the first couple of months, but still you can make a lot of sales from winning designs for years down the road. And you should. And we want that for you. So that's really the goal, is to start with one, put time aside for design research, then create designs all inspired by winning designs. And then when you do get a winning design yourself, find ways to turn that into a collection, find ways to create offshoots, remixes of that design. Maybe you just put it on other products, trendy products, seasonal products. There's a lot of ways that you can keep squeezing juice out of the proverbial lemon for years and years to come. And when it comes to design research, there are both free and paid ways to do it, and both can be great. So if you're tight for a budget right now, I would recommend starting with free design research. If you have a budget, there are tools that are going to save you a lot of time and allow you to identify winners faster. So my favorite paid tool is Everbee, because what it does is it allows me to really quickly analyze designs on Etsy to pull out the winners, and then I can just start reverse engineering those and use them as inspiration for my own. However, you can also go on Etsy and you can do research yourself. You can go on there and you can find validation. Like type in your niche, look at plus t-shirt or something like that. Look at some of those designs, look for the bestseller badge, look for reviews, go over the reviews, look how recent they are, look what people are posting. There's so many ways that you can find validation, and those validated designs, there's some magic there. And that's why it's always going to be beneficial to you if you can try to pull some of that magic into your own designs. So that's kind of what I want to say about that. Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, design research is so important. I mean, the design is the most important thing. I've been talking about this a lot lately. And, we can get so caught up in the marketing. We can get so caught up in the next, I'm not going to mention it, but the next mistake you're going to talk about on this list, that we almost put the design as like, it's not the most important thing, but it is. It's the most important thing. If you have a good design that really speaks to people, triggers those emotions, gets people, interested, makes them feel something, that can trump everything else, right? You can have poor marketing, you can have a poor website, and you can still sell. We're not recommending that, but you can still sell your designs if you have those good designs. And that's why you see horrible Facebook ads and horrible social media and, these things, really poor website, or maybe even like a spammy looking website. But if the design is good enough, like it will sell. It will sell. And so we need to spend that time doing the design research and finding things that are already proven out there in the marketplace that are already selling. And that's why it's just so important to spend that time doing that and not just come up with designs out of nowhere, just kind of creating whatever we want to create. Like there's a reason these designs are selling. Do the research, find those designs that are selling, find what the trends are, right? We've even done episodes where we talk about font trends and color combos and these different things. And those are the kind of things that you can take inspiration from other designs, the font styles, the color combinations, the layout of the design, the different elements that are being used, and the type of elements that are being used. So it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in your business as a print-on-demand seller is just your designs, right? And spending the time and care that needs to be taken to come up with potential best-selling designs. And one of the just quick thing I wanted to say was, you talked about just like, we don't want you to be a one-hit wonder. We want you to be a hit maker. But in order to be a hit maker, like you have to start with the first one. Like you have to find your first really great best selling design, right? And a lot of times that's what will guide you into finding the next one. Is it will inspire you, right? You can be inspired and do design research on your own designs. When that first design starts really selling, and it's like, oh, there's a reason this one's selling. What else can I do related to this design or this idea or this style that could be my next bestseller? So we're trying to find that one, and all the other things you do in your business, all the marketing and the customer service, and yes, all those things elevate the experience and they support that great design. But really, the star of your business and the focus are those designs, and so they have to be as good as they can be.
Boom. Boom. So well said. Like everything else can be mediocre.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be, but it could be. And with the winning design, you can still crush. It's just, and it's a requirement to be able to scale up a design very profitably for a long period of time.
Just one other thing I want to say really quickly is when we say like you got to have great designs, you got to have good designs, that doesn't mean they have to be complex or they have to be like super creative, right? That in fact, kind of like we recommend the opposite. We recommend super simple designs because those often sell much better if they have text slogans in them or if they're very simple. We looked at the research and the data shows, Printify came out with that big report that shows that designs with just one design element on them, I think it was like 50 something percent of sales. And then the other like 20 some odd percent of sales were two design elements. And then it was like 3, 4, 5, and 6 were like the remaining 10, 15% or whatever was left. So like it was like 80, I think it was almost 90% of designs had one or two design elements. So when we say like you got to have good designs, you got to have really high quality designs, whatever we say, that doesn't mean they have to be complex. That doesn't mean they have to have like a ton of colors or, you have to hire some expensive designer or you have to be really good at Photoshop. Doesn't mean any of those things. In fact, the best designs are typically very, very simple and only have 1 to 2 elements.
100%. Boom. Well said. Totally agree. All right. Let's jump on to mistake number 4. And this is a biggie. And that is obsessing over your website. Now, when it comes to creating your website, my number one piece of advice, and Kerry, maybe you'll agree with me on this one, is to keep it simple, especially at the beginning. Remember, you can always be updating your website. You can always be adding bells and whistles. You can always be making it fancier. However, the focus should always be on the products over the website. A winning design is going to sell well on a simple website. A poor design is not going to sell well on the most beautiful, fancy website, right? It's just not how it works. And I think a lot of people, they overcomplicate this and they overthink this. And I'm absolutely guilty as someone who does not consider himself techie. I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do coding. It's so easy to get caught up in the website. And I mean, I've had students that have taken a year to launch their website. And my challenge to everyone is to launch it in max 30 days, like max
Absolutely.
30 days. But some people, they spend a day building a website and some people spend a year building a website. And although a lot of people, a lot of people would find it challenging to do in one day only because they'll probably, they need a logo. They'll probably overthink some of the imagery, but you can do it in one day and then you can just continue to build on that. I'm not saying you need to, but both are kind of extremes in my opinion, like throwing up a website in one day and then throwing up a website in a year. And while those are both extremes, I commonly see new brand owners just spending so long on their website and delaying the launch of their incredible brand because they want to make everything perfect. And I want to share a quote with you that I have found to be very impactful. And that is, perfection is the enemy of progress. And this speaks to me. I'm sure it speaks to a lot of you as well, but it's so true. And this is why Kerry and I say take messy, imperfect action. So my strong advice when it comes to your website is keep it simple, don't overthink it, and know that you can always be making updates. Get your MVP, your minimal viable product out there and start marketing, because when you can get your website launched, when you have some products, you've selected your niche, you have some products, and you launch your website, you can shift gears and you can start focusing on the sales generating activity. And that is design research, design creation, and marketing. So the sooner that you can launch your website, the sooner you can spread the word to your ideal customer and start growing your brand. And I just want to make it very clear, you do not need a fancy website to make it sales. I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but this is very much true. I see a lot of 6 and 7 figure websites that are extremely simple and they are crushing it. And I see a lot of very fancy websites that are making little to no sales at all, because it's not the website usually that makes the sales, it's the products. So keep the website simple and keep the focus on the products that evoke emotion and relatability for your ideal customer, and products that really resonate with them, that they want to wear or use on some sort of product. Now, when it comes to platforms for building a website, I have always been Shopify first. Shopify is what I've used always and what I continue to use. I absolutely love it for a number of reasons. And I'll talk about those reasons in a sec, but I just want to make it really clear. Contrary to popular belief, building a Shopify website is much simpler than most people think, especially if you're not an overthinker like me. But even if you are an overthinker, they have pre-made website templates. Pre-made. Like, the website is essentially made for you. You upload your logo, you upload some products from your print-on-demand provider, you can update imagery, descriptions, you can even start with the generic ones from your print-on-demand company if you want. There's no coding required. Much of it is just drag and drop, fill in the blank, or upload an image here. And even a non-techie like me has been able to build multiple Shopify websites. Multiple. I can't even count how many I've made over the years. And I am in no means techie. So, Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, so it's such a big thing. I mean, the thing I wanted to say was we had somebody, we had a student email in, maybe like 2 weeks ago or something. And Bailey, who runs my customer service, she sent it directly to me because it was one of our students. And that student said, I've been trying for 6 months, and I am just hitting my head. I have not launched my store because I'm hitting my head on just building my Shopify website. Like, I cannot get past this, this thing. And so, I don't want to make it sound like it's like the easiest thing in the world. Like, this is a struggle for a lot of people, is like getting, and really what I'm talking about is getting your website built, because I think there's two sides of it. There's building your initial, I call it your MVP, like your minimum viable product. And then there's also the people that are continually just like, every single moment of every day, they think that their website is the problem, so they're trying to improve it. And as we've mentioned, like, it's typically not the website; it's typically the design. That's the biggest thing. But this person, had said, like, I'm just at my wit's end. I don't know. I don't know how to get past this part of building the website. I'm just struggling with it. And who can I hire? Like, can I hire somebody? And as I went back and forth with this person, what we kind of discovered was that they were in this thing of trying to make it like perfect. They wanted it to be this most beautiful professional website, and it's not worth your time or effort, and it's definitely not worth 6 months to a year to prolong launching your store to have this beautiful, perfect website. And again, your website's probably not going to be quite up to your standards of having this beautiful website, professional looking website. I shouldn't say professional looking, but the really high end, kind of website, unless you are going to spend a ton of money or hire somebody to do the custom coding and the different things like that. Now, in my opinion, Shopify websites look beautiful. Like they look professional, they look great. But I know some people have these like images in their head of these really high end websites. And most of those websites, these companies have paid tens of thousands of dollars to have someone build, and that's fine. That's the stage of their business that they're at. Many of those businesses even started like we did with a free Shopify template, and they upgraded as they went, right? And now they have that, tens of thousands of dollars costing website that was professionally made for them. But it is a struggle for a lot of people. One tip: the first thing I would do when you're building your website in Shopify is pull up another website that you really like the look and feel of that brand, maybe a brand that you've shopped. Pull that up in a separate tab and literally just look at their layout, each element that they have, and just mimic it in your Shopify store. You're not you're not like copying their images and different things like that. You're using it as a template for you to really just lay out your store. You can even use things like the color scheme and kind of, so that way you can kind of see what colors work together and those kind of things. But that's one tip I would give you, is to model your favorite store, because that really helps me visually be able to just kind of go through one by one and kind of model. And the second thing I would tell you is like, it does not have to be this complex thing. It does not have to be a complex, long website. Like if you just had on your homepage, your navigation, your logo, a banner, and a few products, that's okay for like your first MVP store. It doesn't have to be this elaborate website, right? Your product pages, like the most important things are that you have photos, you have your pricing, you have a product description, and the last thing would be a few reviews. Even if you don't have the reviews, you can get started without the reviews, but those would be the four biggest things that you need on your product page. And there's a lot of things you can do to improve those product pages. But for the starting point, put your focus on the design, less on the website. Make sure your website's functional and make sure it's easy to navigate. It's just easy to find what people need. But outside of that, like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy to get those first few sales, and you can improve as you go.
100%. 100%. Yes. Make it like focus on the designs. The designs are going to be what makes the sales. That's what people are buying. They're not buying the website, they're buying your designs. All right. Let's talk about mistake number 5. And this is limiting yourself to just one product. So I don't think this applies to everyone listening. A lot of people right out of the gate, they start with multiple products. However, there are a lot of people that do start out by limiting themselves to one product. And I definitely feel if you have a winning design, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table by doing this. So let's start by talking about t-shirts, because t-shirts we know are the number one best-selling print-on-demand product. That's just what the data tells us. That's not just us saying that. The data backs that up. And I love selling them. Kerry loves selling them. Like, we love selling t-shirts. However, I don't recommend limiting yourself to only t-shirts. There are actually so many like low-hanging fruit opportunities if you are selling t-shirts that are available to you. So, for example, instead of just selling your designs on t-shirts, consider offering other styles, other clothing styles, or other products that would make sense for your particular niche, for your brand, especially higher priced, higher profit products like sweatshirts and hoodies. This is low hanging fruit. Let's say that you just released a best selling design on a t-shirt. And let's say that your profit is $12. Let's just say $12 profit on a t-shirt. Well, guess what? If that design is best selling on a t-shirt, it's probably also going to be your best selling design on a sweatshirt. And right now, it is turning into fall. It's going to be fall very quickly. People are going to be looking for a wardrobe refresh. They're going to be looking for warmer clothes. What better way to squeeze more juice out of the winning design that you created than by putting it on other designs that, oh, by the way, will also make you more profit? because sweatshirts, usually you make more profit on a sweatshirt and you make more profit on a hoodie than you do on a t-shirt. And I think you're actually gonna be surprised if it is a winner and if you are making a lot of sales, you'll be surprised how many people will actually buy that winning design on multiple products. I've done this. I do that. I buy winning designs. Like the example I use is Spiritual Gangster. It's one of my favorite brands. I have Spiritual Gangster on a t-shirt. I have it on a tank top. I have their warrior shirt on a tank top and on a t-shirt because you can wear them at different times. I wear the tank top to the gym. I wear the t-shirt here while I'm podcasting, and hoodies and sweatshirts I would wear while I'm out when it's cold, right? So this is just like low-hanging fruit opportunity. But there's also other product types that you can introduce that probably make a lot of sense for your brand. And you can make a lot of sales by having a unique product type. And a lot of times there's a lot less competition in those unique product types as well. So I usually recommend testing new designs on about 2 to 3 products just to start. This is just going to be to see if the design's actually a winner. And then what I recommend is rewarding the winners and just leaving the not winning designs. Like I wouldn't expand a non-winning design out to 10 products because it's just going to take up a bunch of real estate on my website. And if people really liked it, they would have bought it on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. But if I did release a winning design on a t-shirt, you bet I'm going to go and put that out on maybe 4 or 5 other products and continuously roll it out. Maybe there's a seasonal color and you can make a special seasonal edition where it's the same slogan, but it's on a seasonal color. Maybe you make a special edition for an upcoming occasion. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Maybe if it makes sense, you put your winning slogan on a pink shirt and it's to raise awareness for breast cancer. And maybe you donate part of the proceeds. I'm just spitballing things off the top of my head, but you can also remix winning designs and find creative ways to create something very similar, but that looks a little bit different. And a lot of people will buy those too. So there's so many ways that you can really get the most, maximize your designs that you created, that you got the results for, and you deserve that. If you're the original creator, you deserve to make all the earnings on that design. And what I will say before I pass it over to Kerry is I can almost promise you that if you do not put your design on other products, someone else will. Someone else is going to do it. They're going to be like, why isn't this amazing design on a sweatshirt? It's November and it's cold out. Like more people are probably going to want a sweatshirt right now than on a t-shirt, right? So beat them to it. Beat them to the chase. Like if you have a winning design, one of the best things you can do to scale it is you can put it on other products. Kerry, over to you.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. It was like, why would you not put your best selling designs on other products?
Right?
Like, is the easiest way to make more money. I mean, you can put the design on other products and use that as an upsell to the main product. Mm-hmm. That's a great way to get more out of it. And then you can also obviously promote those products that have that same design on them as their own product, right? So it's just like if your customers, if people like a design on any product, they're typically going to like it on other products. There's sometimes when like a t-shirt design doesn't work on a hat, right? But there might be like some adaptation that you could kind of change it or, tweak it to make it work on like a hat or another product. But typically there are other products that you can put your design on that it will work just fine. And people will buy it. If they bought the initial product, there's other products that they will buy it on. And a lot of times they want it. Like they ask for it. Like, I love this design. I wish you had it on these different things. And like, they're just waiting for it. So if you have those more options, a lot of times it can lead to more sales when you have a best-selling design. We're not saying just throw your design on like 100 products. Like that's not going to serve you in your business. But when you have a core product and you find a design that's really, really selling well, you should expand that design out to at least a few other products to test it out and see what people like.
100%. Scale that bad boy into a collection. All right, cool. Let's jump into mistake number 6. And that is using only print on demand mockups. Now, we did say keep your website simple.
What a hater.
And
Adrian's a hater on print on demand
hear me
mockup.
out. Hear me out.
Kidding.
We did say to keep your website simple. And I will say that print on demand mockups are getting better. They're still not nearly as good as Place It or Etsy or Creative Market. There's so many places that have better mockups than the generic mockups provided by print on demand companies. And you don't need to change out all of them. Like some of them, they might have a really good flat lay of the product, your print on demand company, or they might have a really good just, product only image that's totally good. But for things like lifestyle imagery, that's where I feel like they really fall short. And I do feel like you can almost always find better like flat lay imagery, just a little more visually appealing other places. But they are getting better. But although they're starting to improve, they're still not that good. And as a marketer and as a business owner, it's our job to show our products in the best light. And one of the most effective ways that we can do that is by using attractive, high quality mockups on our website and social media to enhance our brand, our website, and our product aesthetic. These are very important. Like having a good image of featuring your design can be the difference between making the sale and not making the sale. And if you 100x the volume of eyeballs on your product, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table by having these subpar, mediocre mockups that just don't really show the design, show the product in its best light. Now, there are a lot of great places to find high converting mockups. My personal favorite two places are Place It and Etsy. Those have been my favorite places for quite some time now. And you can find other good mockups on other websites. Kittle has some good ones. Creative Fabrica has some good ones. Creative Market has some good ones, although I will say that's probably the most expensive place. They have some really good ones, though. So there are a lot of places you can get them. There are even some places where you can get free mockups, like Place It. They have free mockups on there too. You can be part of the all-inclusive paid plan, which I think is well worth every penny for what you get. It's the biggest mockup library in the world, like on the internet. And so you get access. I think they have over 30,000 mockups to choose from. And they have so many product types. Like they have t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, totes, leggings, hats, tote bag. I said tote bags. There's just the list goes on, and they keep releasing new product types, which is awesome for us as print on demand sellers because the catalog of products for print on demand sellers keeps expanding, and I feel like Place It is expanding with them. It's amazing. Etsy, I personally feel like has the most visually appealing imagery right now, like high converting. And I think a big reason for that is because when you go on Etsy to buy mockups, what you're going to realize is that they're being optimized on other best-selling mockups. So one person that is a mockup seller, they're probably doing research and finding the best-selling mockups on Etsy, and then they're creating one similar. So they just feel the most, I think the best way to describe it is conversion optimized. And you see validation on Etsy. Like a lot of people selling on Etsy, they're using Etsy mockups. And when you see that someone has made 1,000 sales of a design using an Etsy mockup, that's part of the formula. Like it's the design's almost always number one. However, the image, if it really resonates with people, if they feel like, oh, that looks like me, or I want to look like that, or I want to, I want that to be me, then they're going to buy the product. And so that's my favorite place to find visually appealing, but I do think Place It is amazing. And what I like about them is like, one, it's all inclusive and their mockup library keeps growing. So that's huge because you're always getting content that you can use. Now there are a lot of other ways to get mockups. I mean, you can create AI generated mockups. They keep getting better. A lot of the Etsy ones are AI generated. Um, but a little pro tip that I want to share before I hand over to you, Kerry, is if you are doing design research on Etsy, that's my favorite place, one of my favorite places. Etsy, Instagram, and competitor websites are like my favorite places to design research. Um, if you are doing design research on Etsy, what I like to do is I like to look at the primary image mockup because the primary image is usually all that people see at first when they're shopping on Etsy. So they might type in like Halloween shirt, and then all they see is the first image. Think of that as the hook. That's what hooks people in to learn more, and in a lot of cases convert them, right? But a lot of the times that primary image, that is by design. Like if let's say you had two images for a design and image one was your primary image, but everyone was buying the color of image two. What I would do is I would actually switch them and I would make the one that everyone's buying my primary image. And so what I do is I actually do mock-up research and I look for high converting mock-ups that you can then purchase yourself on Etsy for a couple bucks, and then you could put your design on that mock-up. And the design has to be good, but you already know that that mock-up is validated. So just a little pro tip. You can also use tools like Everbee to find the best performing mockups, but you don't even need to. You could just do it by looking for bestseller badges and look at a lot of them. You're going to notice they're using the exact same Etsy mockups. That's because they're probably seeing that other people are having success with that mockup, and that's part of the reverse engineering process. There's a lot of ways to reverse engineer the virality of a best-selling product. And one thing that you do want to pay attention to is the mockup. Man, that was a mouthful. Kerry, I'm handing over to you.
I'm not going to add much to that, but yeah, I mean, we recommend not using print on demand mockups. Are typically not. They're just not great, especially the ones of people.
Yeah.
Like the people ones inside print on demand apps, they're so just generic that I'm sure that they're trying to please like the most amount of sellers as they can. So they're like very generic, but they're just really bad. So, my favorite way, I'm absolutely obsessed with creating AI generated mockups right now. Like there's so many tools and so many things coming out. I've been using this platform called Recraft recently, which is mind blowing. Adrian, if you haven't seen this, I need to show it to you because it's mind blowing. It's called Recraft, where you
Nice.
can turn anything into a mockup. It's crazy. It's AI software. Like you can make mockups in like 4 seconds that look better than Place It. Like it's just like it's crazy. So I've been pretty obsessed with AI mockups and put out a ton of training and videos on this. But yeah, mockups are important, super important, especially to the marketing of your products. And we recommend don't use the print on demand ones.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways you can get them.
Totally. Awesome. All right, let's jump in. We've got two more mistakes to cover. Mistake number 7 is building your entire business on a rented platform like Etsy or merch on demand, Amazon merch on demand. So hear me out here. You guys know we are Shopify first sellers. That's all of our training is built around Shopify. So of course, we are going to tell you that you should build a brand on Shopify because that's how we had our success. That's how our students have our success. That's a strategy we know and teach. I don't consider myself an Etsy expert. I don't consider myself a Merch by Amazon expert, even though I've sold lots on those two platforms. I'm not an expert because I don't believe that that's the best opportunity. And so my expertise is in where I've actually had exponentially more success than those two platforms, and where I think the best opportunity lies if your goal is to build a profitable and sustainable brand. So I want to start out by just talking about the difference between kind of an owned platform and a rented platform. So Shopify, unlike Etsy and Amazon Merch on Demand, which are marketplaces, Shopify is an owned platform since you own your website and you own your customer data. Marketplaces like Etsy, And merch on demand, these are rented platforms, meaning that you're at the mercy of an algorithm. You're at the mercy of frequent policy changes. And worst of all, this is by far the worst, is having your account permanently terminated, which it's terrible. Like it happens way too common. And many times it's actually not for any good reason, or there's just no clear explanation. You just receive an email saying your account has been permanently terminated and you're done. With marketplaces, you're always at risk, always. And that's just really scary for me. I don't like that. I love being on there as a secondary channel, because if I received an email today that my Etsy account was permanently terminated, it would make very little difference to my business. Very little difference. And that's what I want for everyone else. Like the last thing I want is to see someone have all the success and all of a sudden get terminated, right? And so if you are on Etsy now, I recommend future-proofing your business by starting on Shopify like as soon as possible, just to have that foundation where you can collect data and that you're on that own platform and you can build a solid foundation. And if you're on Shopify and you're not having a lot of success yet, commit to mastery. Keep focusing. There is so much potential with Shopify. You don't need to be on the marketplaces. A lot of times it's just a distraction. It's going to spread you thin, especially if you're a one-man team like so many are. So I know I'm rambling, but this is something that I'm really passionate about. And so I'm going to hand over to you, Kerry.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. And I am of the same belief, of the same thought. Like Shopify allows you to, own your customer data, own your marketing, scale out your business as high as it can go, and just really I don't want to insult anybody who is primarily on Etsy, because even in Amsterdam, I met a lot of people who primarily sell on Etsy, but we hear all the horror stories of these accounts getting shut down, and there is something to be said about like, do you have a real business if you don't have your own owned platform? Like, I'm not saying you don't. I think you do, but there's so much risk associated with that, as you mentioned. And if you go to sell your business, you want to have that customer data, that all the past data to be able to give over to that buyer of the business. And that's going to be like the most important thing, is all that sales data and all that customer data and what you can do with that. Having an email list, having an SMS list, having a Facebook pixel. I mean, all the data on the pixel, right? Those are things you can't necessarily do in the same way on a rented platform like Etsy or Amazon. And so it's just completely different type of business, each that has its benefits, but so many more reasons and benefits to have your own owned platform for the long term, and building a really successful business and scaling that business up and being in control of that as a business owner. You need to be on an owned platform.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay. Mistake number 8, the final mistake. That is not following a proven strategy. So let me explain. One thing that I learned a long time ago is that success is a result of strategy, not luck or special ability. And the way that I learned this is because I don't have any special abilities. I don't. Like, I am not a guru. I'm not a marketing genius. I'm nothing special. There's no magic here. All I did was follow a proven strategy. And that is when that quote really solidified itself in my head. And that's why I always tell that to my students and anybody. I tell it to everybody. Success results of strategy, not luck or special ability. I can't speak for Kerry, but I can tell you that I'm nothing special and I'm not a guru. There's just there's no magic. It's just sticking to the script. So that's what I did. I followed a proven strategy years ago. I've built on that. I've used that to sell multiple 7 figures across 2 apparel brands. And a common struggle that I see amongst new print-on-demand sellers is that they launch the website and they expect people to discover their products and their brand without any sort of strategy. They're just like, I launched my website, and they're just waiting for the traffic to pour in. And maybe they start posting some things on social media, and maybe they're just the most common thing I see with new brands is all they do is post their products, which, by the way, is one of the worst ways to grow on social media. Like, if you don't want to grow on social media, just post your products. I'm being totally serious. It's like even big brands, when they post value content over product posts, most of the time the value content far outperforms the product post. And you should post some products to let people know that you do have a brand, and show them products that sell and show them products that resonate with them. However, it's not a strategy for growth. And so this is one thing that I just so commonly see. People launch a website, and then they post their products to social media, and it's total crickets. And I'm saying this coming from personal experience as well, because when I started my first brand, that's what I did. I made all these mistakes. Like, I know these feelings well, and it totally sucks. And I don't want that for you. And that's not the best use of your time. Like, there's so many like higher value tasks that you could be focusing your time on. And this is why it's so important to follow a strategy. I just want to be really real. We keep it real on this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's not just as easy as choosing a niche, creating some designs, throwing up a website, and then just posting your products to social media. It's not that easy. That didn't work before. It doesn't work today. And I can promise you that won't work in the future. If it did work, every print-on-demand seller, every apparel seller would be successful. Everyone. And that's just not the case. That's just not what the data tells us, right? Mm-hmm. But, throwing up a shop and hoping that people are going to find your products and discover your brand, I would love that for you. Like, we want that for you. Yeah. But we're also going to keep it real. That's just like not hoping that people are going to discover your products and your brand. That's just not a winning strategy, because hope is not a strategy. And if you're not following a proven strategy, I don't blame you for not seeing success. I don't blame you for not getting results. I've tried that and I was not successful. A lot of other people have tried that and they were not successful. Like, I wasted a ton of time and money at the beginning of my journey on my first clothing brand. And I made 0 sales. And I'm not afraid to admit that, because I grew a lot from it. It was a great growth process, but I realized that I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just doing what I thought would work. And I wasn't actually following any real strategy at all. And it was only when I actually started following a proven strategy that everything changed for me. And I think I've told this story before, but when I started, I was introduced to print-on-demand when I was living in Thailand. And I had 2 friends back in Vancouver who told me about print-on-demand, and they said they're starting print-on-demand businesses. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm in, let's go. And we all started print-on-demand businesses, and they were just like total flops. Like, they were going nowhere. We weren't making any sales. We were putting all this time in and we didn't know what we were doing. And it was only when we actually started using a proven strategy. So we invested in training ourselves and we started using a proven strategy. And within 1 year, we all had 6-figure brands. And again, there was no magic there. That was us following a proven strategy, and it worked. And it can work for anybody. We're nothing special. None of us were anything special, but that was not a coincidence. That was a result of strategy, not luck or special ability. So really, when it comes down to strategy, there's a few things that are very important. And I just want to list them out for you. It's just a couple of things that are critical. 1 is having a profitable niche. 2 is having a winning design. When you have a winning design, everything will change for you if you're marketing effectively. Having a professional, trustworthy website, it can be very simple, but it should be professional and trustworthy. And then effective marketing to get eyeballs on your products, to get your products in front of your ideal customer. If you can nail these 4 things, if you can master those 4 things, you can have an amazing amount of success. And that's what we want for everyone. So, Kerry, I want to hear your thoughts.
Man, yeah. Where do I even start? as you mentioned, you're right, spot on. A profitable niche, a winning design, a professional, trustworthy website, and effective marketing. Easier said than done, but those are the four keys that you need to nail to have the success. And each one of those things, can be broken down into their own step-by-step system of how to do that, right? How do we choose a profitable niche? All right, here's how to do it. How do we come up with winning designs? All right, here are the tricks and the tips and the strategies. And so don't try to do it on your own, right? You told the story, and my story, one piece of my story is when I was trying to have success with my first t-shirt business. I was watching all these YouTube videos. This is how many years ago now? How old am I? What year is it? It's like 8 years ago or something when I started my first t-shirt business. It's crazy to think I was watching YouTube, but YouTube was a thing. There was a lot of gurus in e-commerce at that time, and I'm just watching all these different YouTube videos, trying to piece them all together. And the reality is, they all had different strategies and different systems, and those weren't going to work together. And so, I was trying to piece all these things together when what I really needed to do was just follow one person that had one strategy that was proven, and follow exactly what that one person was telling me to do, that one system, not trying to piece all the things together from all these different places. And so what made the difference for me after my first t-shirt business was kind of failing, it was kind of just doing really poorly and kind of going down each month in sales. I was like, what am I going to do? Is what I ended up doing was purchasing a program from one, guy that I felt like I trusted, that taught a specific system and was knowledgeable. And I followed that system to a T. And that's what helped me, revive my first business and like have a lot of success with it. That's what worked for me. And so that's honestly what's worked for me in anything that I've done that I've had success with, is like, I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I don't try to figure out things from scratch. I always try to find a blueprint. I always try to find a system. I always try to find somebody who has been where I can go that can help me get there. And it shortens the time to success. You can figure it out on your own and you can do it in 5 years, but you could also follow a proven system from somebody who has been where you want to go, and you might be able to get there in 1 year. And that's 4 years of your life that, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just an example, but I definitely believe that you should follow a proven strategy, proven system, follow someone who's been where you want to go. Don't try to figure it out on your own, because you save yourself time, money, effort, brain power. I mean, that's definitely my advice.
Yeah. Well said. And yeah, I mean, I'm not just saying this because we're both coaches and we both have our own programs. Like, Kerry has an amazing program, Shirt School. I have what I think is an amazing program with Carlos, T-Shirt Legends Academy. But like, if like, just find a program. Like, it doesn't even have to be mine. Like, it doesn't even have to be Kerry's. Like, find someone you know, like, and trust, who has been where you want to go, and just stick to that. Like, I really like how you mentioned that you found one person and you followed their strategy. That's exactly what we did. Me and these other two friends of mine, that's exactly what we did. We found one person, we all followed their strategy, and it worked for us. And Kerry's program can work, my program can work. There's other people out there whose programs can work for you. Just choose one. That's kind of what I want to end off with. So is there anything else you want to mention before I recap these 8 kind of key beginner mistakes to avoid?
No, hit us.
All right. We talked about a lot. So let me recap, and then we'll bring it home here. We'll land the plane. So the first beginner mistake to avoid is not taking action. The second, not choosing a niche. Third, not conducting effective design research. Fourth, obsessing over your website. Fifth, limiting yourself to just one product. Sixth, using only print-on-demand mockups. Seventh, building your entire business on a rented platform. And 8 is not following a proven strategy. So with that, that was a lot. Holy cow, this was a pretty long episode. So with that, we're gonna wind down. I hope you guys got so much value out of this. I hope you learned a lot from this. And most importantly, I hope it encourages you to go out there and take messy and perfect action. That was the number one mistake. And that was a challenge on this podcast episode. After you listen to it, go out and take action. So thank you so much for listening. take imperfect action, and
Let's
remember,
go.
you're always just one design away.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us an honest review on whatever platform you are listening on. Thanks again and have a great day.